good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. My name is Overdressed. I'd like to welcome you on board an hour.
Hello vegan adventurers, welcome to another part of Healthy Vegan Adventures. As I mentioned before, we continue our adventure on Tenerife Islands. This time we're going with my mom Vera and Sanya's brother Željko. We're flying from a Polish town Krakow, which is the second biggest town in Poland, and the flight should take around 5 hours. So right now in Europe there was a crazy heat wave. The temperatures were getting up to 30 degrees, which is quite unusual for the month of May. In May the temperatures usually hover around 20 degrees. And in Paradox, in Tenerife, it's only around 20 degrees. So we thought we were trying to escape the colder weather of spring and going into a hot Canary Islands. But it's not the case, we are getting even in colder temperature now. I know I'd mentioned this in almost every video when we were flying in an airplane, but it's really important. As soon as we are flying above the countryside, you can see the staggering amount of fields and not much forests. People think it must be vegans eating all those plants, that's why we need so many fields, which is far from truth. About 85% of all the grains grown are fed to animal livestock. Growing food for animals or animal grazing is the #1 cause of deforestation. And you can also see the trends. The countries that eat the most meat, like the European countries, Poland, France, they have the most amount of fields and the least amount of forests. So if you think that this is okay and have no problem seeing the landscape looking like this, with almost all the landscape are fields with minimal amount of forest, then you probably don't care about environment at all, and you're probably supporting the biggest cause of this, which is the animal agriculture. And here we are at the west coast of France, close to Atlantic Ocean. So this is some big city here. I think it's Bordeaux, but I could be wrong. And you would think that humans would just destroy the land environment and would leave the oceans alone, because what can they do wrong with that? But the matter of fact is that we destroy the oceans even more. The oceans are exploited by fishing companies so much that by 2048 we might see a fishless oceans. And also the animal agriculture on land, especially the cattle farms, are producing so much waste that it's also thrown in the ocean, and that creates the ocean dead zones. And as we're following the western coast of France, we got to the Pyrenees, which is making the border between France and Spain. So these hills still have snow on them, and many of them are over 2,000 meters high. So after Spain and Portugal, we started flying above Atlantic Ocean for a few hours, until we saw hills of Canary Islands peaking above the clouds. So here we see the first island of Canary Islands, which I think it's La Gomera. and here we are already flying above Tenerife Island. So the first thing you notice, it looks really brown, really dry, something like a desert. We were reading before coming here that this coast of Tenerife is almost like a desert, but if you go more towards the hills, there is more rainfall and it's more lush. Here you can already notice lots of resorts and villas with pools. Even though in Tenerife it's pretty much warm all year long, the main season is June, July, August, and then during the winter holiday like December and January. Look at how much space and water is used for golf courses. Right now we actually picked the wrong time. It's much more cooler here and it's more like a rain season here. Lots of clouds and the sea is also not that warm. But on the other hand, the plane ticket, the accommodation and services are much cheaper. And as the plane turns around, you can see the hilly side of the island. So you can see there is lots of clouds around the hills. And Tenerife actually has the highest peak in Spain, which is called El Teide, and it's around 3,700 meters. So we're also hoping to do some hiking in these mountains here. But it's just so funny that we're going on a holiday on the beach, but it's actually much colder than where we came from. Temperatures during the day are around 23 degrees and at night around 17 degrees. Okay, so we are here outside of the terminal and we rented a car, which was quite cheap compared to other places, only 15 euros per day. And we thought it's so cheap because it's off-season. We've been to other parts of Spain like Mallorca and Malaga during off-season, but the car rental was more expensive. So I think it has to do something with taxis. On Tenerife it's cheaper than other places in Spain. So luckily our accommodation was not far from South Tenerife Airport. There is another airport in north in Santa Cruz, so make sure you book your hotel close to the airport. So here is our resort. Looks quite luxurious with all the pool and everything, but the pool is actually quite cold in this weather, so that's why there are not so many tourists here and they're putting the price much cheaper than usually. We chose this location because my mom wanted to try windsurfing, and this town El Medano is known for good windsurfing. So stay tuned for our adventures in Tenerife, and for now, stay healthy and stay adventurous.